Hi, I'm Bill Laveris. I am the Content Director of the Mobile Enterprise 360 community. And I'm joined today by Jack Gold, who's Principal and Founder of J. Gold Associates. And we're going to be talking about the ROI of mobile initiatives. Jack, thank you very much for being my guest here today.
Thank you, Bill. Great to be with you.
Now, as proportionately larger and larger chunks of the IT budget, starts to flow to mobile projects and initiatives, and that's certainly what we're seeing in research and in reality, I would think that the ROI question is going to be coming up increasingly. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I would have thought so too. And then we did our survey, and I found something very interesting. We asked, as you said, 270 companies in North America, a whole series of questions, there were about 70 or so questions. And we asked a couple of questions about ROI. One of the questions we asked was, are you even calculating ROI? Are you looking back and seeing what you spent and then seeing what you got back? And only 11% of the companies actually talked to us about calculating ROI. Only 11% indicated that they were doing it. Another 35 or so percent, 39%, I believe, said that they were guessing at it. And the rest were saying, no, we weren't doing anything. They weren't even trying to come up with an ROI. It's incredible to me that anybody would approve a project without at least thinking about ROI. And how do you get funded? How do you go to your director or your executives and say, oh, give me $1 million or so, and I'm going to put this application in place, but I don't know what the payback's going to be. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done in most companies around ROI, and particularly around mobile ROI.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe it's just the romance of it now and the fact that virtually everybody in the company, that certainly includes the line of business executives, are themselves users and ardent users because they're on the road a lot. But, at some point, I believe it's going to change. And you're right. Your recent survey, that excellent survey you referenced, only 11% are actually calculating it now. How might you compare and contrast the ability to show a real demonstrable ROI for mobility, mobile projects, compared, say, with the ROI of other IT projects? Is it harder, do you think, or is it even reasonable to think you can do it?
It is harder, and it's harder because there are a lot more parameters. It's a lot more complex. There are a lot more components. You've got devices. You've got applications. You've got the carriers. You've got different devices. You have to add a mobile capability to your back office, whether it's SAP or Microsoft or Oracle or whatever you're running. You have to make sure that it actually plays on these devices. You have to manage those devices as best you can. So maybe there's a mobile device management and an MDM solution that you have to add on. You have to support a variety of different devices, especially if you're in an environment where BYOD or bring your own device to work is part of a component of your infrastructure, because you're supporting iPhones, you're supporting Android, you're supporting BlackBerry, you're supporting laptops, you're supporting tablets, you're supporting all kinds of things. So it's really, really complex. Whereas in the old days, in client-server days, you had a PC, you had a server, you had Oracle, you licensed it on the server, you licensed it on the PC, it was all in Windows, and you were pretty much done. Not so anymore, and that's part of the problem. I think that's also part of the problem with trying to calculate the ROI. How do you calculate it? Is it the same for everyone, or is it different? If you have an iPhone, is your ROI the same as my device, which is Android? Or if you have a tablet, is it the same as a smartphone? Probably not. And so that's part of the issue here. I think it's really overwhelming for a lot of companies to get in and try to figure out what the ROI is. That said, however, you have to do it. You at least have to make an attempt at it, because how do you know if your investment was worthwhile?
Right. And as this mobile environment grows, is there any chance that, say, outsourcing certain aspects of it gives you a better chance, perhaps, of measuring some of that ROI in any way, shape, or form?
Well, we asked about outsourcing. In many cases, companies said they weren't doing very much of it. They thought they would be doing more in the future over the next, we asked what they'd be doing in a year and in 3 years, and it was increasing. The outsourcing role was increasing, but it was in very select areas. In areas like application development, in areas like support and user training. But the core stuff that companies normally do weren't being outsourced, or they weren't intending to outsource it very much. Cloud is becoming more of a player, but even there, it was a relatively small role. It was less than 25 or 30% of companies that thought everything was going to the cloud. And I think that's probably too high. So outsourcing does have a role, especially in areas where your organization doesn't have the resources or lacks the expertise to deploy or support these solutions. But completely outsourcing the mobile app project is not where most companies are focused, and we don't think it's going to go very far over the next 3 years.
Okay, great. Well, good information, Jack. I mean, like I said, I've got a feeling that this is going to become more of a factor as time goes on. And you're right. I mean, they've got to give it a try no matter what, even if some of the measurements aren't quite as precise as they might have been with some things in the past. Jack Gold from J. Gold Associates, thank you very much today for being my guest.
Thank you, Bill. Good being with you.
And I'm Bill Labaris from IDG saying thank you very much for joining us today as well.